As today, May 29th, marks the second anniversary of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in office, the State House has released a special documentary highlighting his achievements. Here's a snippet.
We have confronted the ghosts of the past, from the unsustainable fuel subsidy, down through the volatility of the FX system, to the erosion of local government autonomy.
It was very extremely difficult, but the day of the inauguration, that I had to decide on what is not in the original script of my speech is on the subsidy.
No provision is there for fuel subsidy.
I looked straight into the crowd. I saw very young generation.
We are looking for a better government.
Subsidy is a scam. Subsidy is a scam.
The fuel subsidy is gone.
It's going to affect the economy, it's going to affect the businesses.
I know what is in the handing over note that I reviewed a night before. It's a path of no return for my country.
As a percentage of revenue is down from well over 90% to just about 60% according to the figures at the end of 2024. Likewise, the debt to GDP ratio is relatively moderate at just over 50%.
The progress we have made did not happen by accident. It is the result of calculated choices.
We must achieve food security and sovereignty for our country.
Well, all right, I can't wait to watch that documentary. I know the full 1-hour documentary will air today, right here on Arise News between 5 and 6 p.m. So viewers, stay tuned. Well, in commemoration of the second anniversary of his administration, the president expressed confidence that the most challenging period in Nigeria is over and that his administration is on course to building a greater, more economically stable nation. Tinubu acknowledged the hardships faced by citizens due to his reforms, but affirmed that the economic reforms are proving effective. According to him, inflation is starting to ease. The fiscal deficit has significantly reduced, and the debt service to revenue ratio has decreased. Tinubu also noted that the upcoming tax reform bills will eliminate multiple taxation, and essential goods and services will be subject to a 0% VAT. Dr. Abati, I heard you this morning, and the most exciting part of that 0% VAT for you was the rent, wasn't it? Wasn't it the rent?
Yeah,
it was the rent.
Tenant,
yes.
But I think it's an important issue.
Absolutely. And then, you know,
it's just something, anything that will be of benefit to the generality of the people.
Absolutely.
And the president having made the point that, look, he knows the pain that the people are facing, and that he's committed to ensuring the welfare of the people and ensuring their hope, either it's health or education or rent. You know, people will not pay rent, and he's committed to doing more.
Absolutely.
I think that's important because many Nigerians will say, well, were you better off in 2015 and now in 2025?
Absolutely.
So I think that was a very major plank, apart from his outlining all his various achievements.
And that's the thing, that's the point. I'd like to actually outline his various achievements. I mean, we did see that on the cover of, This Day Today, I believe also on Punch newspapers and several other newspapers. If we can just pull up that, some of his achievements from the director there. And I believe some of them, if we can see it, he says over 900,000 beneficiaries of presidential loan and grant scheme. He's done over 300,000 beneficiaries of students loan scheme. 300,000, that's a huge number. Over $10 million in FC debt cleared. Over 440 ongoing road projects, including, of course, the 2,700 kilometers superhighways, and also saying that there's been 3.84% GDP growth in quarter 2 of 2024, highest in 3 years. This is a laudable achievement, I will say, for me. But when you see this achievement, I don't know, Nigerians are saying, is this reflective of what we're seeing in the economy at this point, especially, you know, given that the inflation is soaring. We are seeing it. It's clear because every day we go to the markets, we see that food prices are going high. Well, on Tuesday, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu arrived in Lagos to host the 50th anniversary of the Economic Community of West African States, commissioned some projects and observed the Eid al-Kabir prayers, while his large convoy was spotted on the 3rd Mainland Bridge. Eliciting reactions. Let's take a look. You know, I always highlight these convoys. Anytime the president's convoy is spotted, I always highlight it. And the only reason is because I'd like for the government to patronize ours. As we see there, we are seeing, you know, Land Cruisers, we are seeing all of these foreign vehicles. I will continue to highlight it. We have Nord, we have Innocent. Please, the presidency, we would love for you to, of course, support our own.
You're spot on, Audrey.
Yes.
We have Nord, we have Innocent,
Yes.
we have Nigerian car makers. We should patronize them. But most importantly, why the excess? Why the waste? If you go and look at the British Prime Minister of an economy that is worth trillions, would you see this level and this number? I mean, these are the optics that people, that put people off. In one breath, we say people are crying, and the next thing, we're having this large convoy. I know some people, defenders of the president, will say, oh, what about America? They have large presidential convoy. You know, why don't we compare the GDP of Nigeria with that of America and see? So if America does it, should we do it at a time where there's a lot of pain and penury, over double-digit inflation rates in the country, and some of the successes, yes, but there are a lot of also many K-legs, like they say in local parlance. You were talking about Nelfon, for instance. Vimbai was making a point about institutions today. Since the ICPC muted something that, oh, there are some discrepancies in a Nelfon, we've not had a finality on it. He said about 900,000 people have benefited from humanitarian ministry. The question we should ask them is, where's the end of the investigative case of Beta Edu till today? Where's the accountability? They also talk about the fact that refinery started. Is it the same refinery that started, that we're hearing back and forth, that even the EFCC should be able to ask questions of what 2 billion spent? We heard a statement released by NMPC that will shut down refinery to be able to check it again. Yeah. What refinery is shut down? As of January, they still imported fuel. Presidential initiative on CNG. Where is the pervasiveness of CNG? How many CNG stations can we get on the island as we speak today? I went with that initiative. I got, what's it called, a CNG car. I drive an Innocent. But where's the availability of the CNG car? So, I mean, it's a mixed story. And I'm just saying the both part of it. The food initiative. Oh, money for, they are going to open up the border for food and everything and all of that. Vimbai always talks about gradualism, and you said subsidy gone. What you told us then, that the money saved from subsidy will be used to be able to reflate the economy. Today we are taking a lot of loans. Over 45 trillion, about 45 trillion now is what we want to take. We've taken so many loans. We celebrated the COVID-19 loan by IMF, but we have taken more loans at the same time. The GDP, the fact that we devalued the currency, the GDP has tanked in about 200. So, you see, I have been vindicated because even somebody that almost cast aspersions at me the other day that said, don't say that. The economy has not tanked under President Tinubu. You badly brought up little boy. Don't say that. He came on Dr. Abati's show and he repeated everything. In fact, he even said it better than me.
All right.
With renewed vigor.
All right. Well, all right. Well, in the meantime, the presidency has clarified President Tinubu's request to the National Assembly regarding Nigeria's 2025-2026 borrowing plan, emphasizing that the president is not seeking a lump sum of $20 billion. Well, according to the special assistant to the president on social media, Dada Olusegun, the document sent to the National Assembly details a comprehensive 2-year framework for both federal and state government external financing. He also stated that the framework includes a proposal for the federal government to raise $2 billion domestically for infrastructure, adding that National Assembly approval does not mean automatic disbursement or full utilization of the entire amount. Vimbai, we saw the story trending. It's good that the presidency has clarified it, because obviously when we saw that amount, $20 billion, and only a few weeks ago they said they've cleared the debt of the IMF, you wonder, like, why is it? But now they're saying it's not just for the federal, it's also for the state, and the state needs support from the federal in order to borrow, internationally as well. Your take on this?
Oji, I don't think it makes a very big difference. Okay. This is almost just, it's us. There's a popular term called mansplaining, right, when you're trying to explain something in different terms or maybe in more palatable words. Because in essence, everybody is going back to the METF, medium-term, MTEF document 2025-2022.
Medium-term expenditure framework.
MTEF, yes, for 2025 to 2027, and the parameters stated within that document. But the concern around that document for me really is the fact that some of the assumptions, most of the assumptions that we've used to come up with our calculations are already null and void. So for example, we're using a $75 peg on oil. We're using over 2 million barrels per day projection for oil output. We're using an exchange rate of 1,400. So yes, as much as what is happening here, to put it in very plain terms, is that the president is saying that I need to be given room to borrow up to this amount. But let's look at the likelihood that we will borrow that amount. And I think that's where the conversation is really happening. What is the likelihood of that this debt ceiling will be reached, and what will it be used for? So in essence, we're still saying the same thing, is that the reality has now dawned on us that we will struggle to make it through the next couple of years without aggressive borrowing. So yes, this clarity is important because it's not a single loan that's, that is being applied for, that's being dispersed. But ultimately, it's saying that over the next couple of years, this is an assumption or a projection of the borrowings that will need room to make. So it seems to me different sides of the same coin.
It's the $20 billion, isn't it? Well, in the same vein, according to Budget, a civil society organization, the National Assembly inserted 11,122 projects into the 2025 federal government budget, totaling 6.93 trillion naira. Among these projects, Streetlights received the largest allocation of 393.29 billion naira for, guess what, 1,477 units. Based on this figure, it is estimated that one street light will cost a staggering 266 million naira. Can you beat that, Dr. Abati? Can you beat that? Let me take this WhatsApp comment that has been flying around. This person wrote, with the amount of streetlights in this 2025 budget, Nigeria is supposed to be the light of the world. 1,477 streetlights for 393.29 billion. That's 266 million per light. Are we installing the sun, Dr. Abati? Are we installing the sun? But there are other projects as well.
Are we installing the sun?
Yes.
Part of the problem we have with the budgeting process is that the National Assembly, yes, they have oversight because it's an appropriation bill, which will be considered by the National Assembly. They then put their own issues into it, constituency projects, political projects. Now you are isolating the issue of streetlights. Where are these streetlights that they have been budgeting for a very long time? If you look at the breakdown by budget, you will see something called boreholes.
Yes, 500
and they are spending billions of naira. to build boreholes, 114.53 billion naira on boreholes alone. Where are these boreholes? Empowerment of traditional rulers, 6.74 billion. 32 traditional rulers. We have more than 32 traditional rulers in this country. If they are empowering traditional rulers, is a traditional ruler of Umukwata
I know him.
on that list?
I'm going to.
Is he on that list? Is he going to get out of the 6.74 billion? And why are they empowering traditional rulers who are the direct responsibilities of the local government authorities, the Ministry of Local Government in those states? So some of these things are the reasons why Nigerians get really exasperated. Provision for security vehicles. If we check that budget for 2026, they will still make provision for security vehicles. Then you ask yourself, what happened to the security vehicles they bought last year? They will still make provision for boreholes. Is it that these boreholes just disappear after 1 month, and then they will still make provision for all kinds of projects? The whole thing about budget, which is an NGO, is about transparency and accountability. Which then takes me quickly to the statement by Dada Olusegun. Dada Olusegun is saying simply that the borrowing that government has talked about, up to about 4 trillion naira, is a rolling plan. That's the technical word. Rolling plan 25-26, medium-term expenditure framework. And the Nigerian government haven't paid the money they borrowed for COVID, right? And we celebrated that, although I thought, the propaganda now in retrospect may look unnecessary.
Yes.
Now they are going.
So you agree?
No, the propaganda, the optics. No, the propaganda and the optics. The other argument about economics, I thought that was wrong-guided. But in terms of the optics, okay, you celebrated paying back money, and then shortly after, you are going to borrow another 4 trillion naira. However, the issue, to go back to budget, is about transparency and accountability. That money, even if you borrow it, they are borrowing from Europe, from Japan, from China, from World Bank, from everywhere. What do you do with the money? Mr. Peter Obi will say, since he likes to discuss economics, we say that borrowing is not the problem. It is what you do with the money.
Absolutely.
If the money is not going to be used to achieve the objectives outlined in President Tinubu's statement today, then it will not serve our purpose. It should serve our purpose. What Dada Olusegun is saying, if you borrow, you pay back now. It's a debt. Even the bond, the domestic bonds of $2 billion, is a debt.
Absolutely.
So how will it be managed? How are you accountable to the Nigerian people? And how will you pay back? These are the issues.
You also ask them, what are the terms? What are the moratorium? What are the payback period? At what interest rate are they?
What is the burden of the debt?
What's the burden of the debt? How long are you going to pay it for? These are the things we want to know. Because it's not only a multilateral source like the World Bank, there's Japanese government and all of that.
The president explained programmatically that his administration does not intend to increase the debt burden. That even that borrowing will not increase the debt burden. He also addressed the issue.
It will increase.
Well, that's what he said.
183 trillion.
Well, I'm quoting him.
If that money comes in.
I'm quoting him. I'm reporting what he said. Secondly, on the issue of benchmark, he also addressed that in his statement today. He said, look, they've worked out the details and that nobody needs to panic about the workability of the benchmark of 70.
Got from Delta State as well. These students are writing their exams late at night.
When we started the show today, we started by doing an assessment of the administration. And in essence, my summary was that economic reform cannot prosper in a vacuum. It needs to be supported by institutional reforms. One of the pillars we looked at was education. And at this point, I think there needs to be some sort of marching order delivered to the Minister of Education, because the issues that have cropped up in this year alone, especially during this examination period, show that there's a state of emergency happening in the education sector that needs to be paid attention to. What is the logistical challenge Yes, we know we have a huge population, an overwhelming number of children who are most likely going to sit for these exams. But why is it so difficult to come up with logistics that will ensure that these children can write these exams in free and fair and conducive environments? I saw in Ebonyi State, I saw Taraba State. No, it's a widespread thing that we're seeing. It's unfair. What are you saying about the future of these young people? Their mental health, their prospects after this. Even as a graduate, it's already difficult to see what your future looks like. Now you're trying to take this opportunity away for them to further their education. So this needs to be investigated. Yes. The same way the issue with JAM was investigated. Yes. We're not going to wish this away. I hope the Minister of Education has taken these videos seriously and will now speak to the various people who are responsible for this so that this can be addressed. And possibly it looks like these students may need to resit for these exams as well, because these are not fair conditions.
All right, Dr.
The Federal Ministry of Education has already issued a statement to say that this is completely unacceptable, and we agree with the Federal Ministry of Education on that score. What should follow should be a proper investigation of what happened at Unity Secondary School, Asaba, what happened in Ebonyi State, what happened in Taraba, what happened in Okeafa, Senior Comprehensive High School, where students were writing English language examination yesterday up till almost 12 midnight. Yes. Yesterday they had 3 papers. English language, English. The essay at 8 a.m., the comprehension and whatever at 11 a.m., the test of oral English at 3 p.m. But in many of those schools, nobody wrote any examination in English language till 7 p.m. They were using torchlight. They were using flashlight. It's unacceptable. And those who are responsible for this should be sanctioned. Yes. They should be punished. In fact, the integrity of that English language exam that was written yesterday has been called into question.
Absolutely.
And they should cancel that exam and reorganize it, because there's nowhere under the rules, WAEC rules, that says that examinations can be written at midnight. Well, it is unfair to those children.
Well said.